Hey guys, welcome to NIJ Changemakers. I am here today with Kalyani Khona, who is the co-founder and CEO of Inclov, which is the world's first matchmaking platform for people with disabilities. So Kalyani, welcome to the show. Thank you for being a part of NIJ today. So why don't you tell me, this is a really exciting concept. You have 50,000 users right now on this app, and you have 16,000 unique connections. You want to tell me what that is about and how you came up with this entire concept?
First of all, thank you for having me.
Sure.
So the simple idea from day one was to create a community where nobody is left behind, right? Because when you see there are like two parts here, one is the majority of all of us who are in the mainstream, who pretty much have a day-to-day life where we go, we have job, we have studies, we have family and stuff. And then there is this community, and it's not just people with disabilities, but people with cancer, HIV, temporary surgeries. All of them somewhere felt left out or left behind in the journey of this whole, social needs. And so when I thought of doing something different after college, the next very immediate step was to do something that's actually going to be different and the first of its kind. And hence, like, we started Inclov. Inclov actually stands for inclusive love, so you combine the word. And the idea was very, very simple. No one deserves to be left behind, like when it comes to things as simple as love or having your daily coffee or going for a party, which was the case. What started happening was we started realizing that there is much more to this. Like, we haven't solved the problem because people who were talking online were not meeting in person because of inaccessibility, social inhibitions. But second was that within 10 days somebody matched on our platform, they got married, and the girl was looking for a partner since 8 years. So when I went and Shankar, my co-founder, attended the wedding.
They got married within 10 days of
They found each other within 10 days and decided they want to get married. So 3 months later, they married.
I was like, that was quick.
So Jan they met and May they're married. So it's
that is pretty quick.
That is pretty quick for,
Versus 8 years of waiting, right? So
exactly.
Okay.
So I went and we checked with her what is different here, how did she, and this is now thousands of more women like these, right? And they said, we never felt humiliated here, we never felt rejected here, people accepted our request, they wanted to talk to us, right? So that's where I figured, let's do something more here, let's look beyond India, and we'll come to that. But and today, of course, this is world's first community of its kind, which actually enables each other more. We don't do much here, right? Like, we've given this platform, people on the platform add each other, talk to each other, make sure they're there for each other, and then it grows into friendship and love and so on and so forth. So that was always the idea, and here we are 2.5 years later.
And now let's talk about these unique connections, right? You don't just do now matchmaking. I think people relate the term to dating, right? But that's not all you do. So can you talk about some of the other things that the app has?
So there are two angles to this. One is, of course, how the matchmaking works. So when you onboard the app, and it's not just for people with disabilities. So we want, and this is something I am strongly against, that if you're on wheelchair, you should marry someone on wheelchair. What logic is that? You're from Harvard. Will I force you to marry someone from Harvard only? No, right? So I was like,
no way.
So exactly, you get my point. So I was like, hey, all kind of people, but with similar mindset that these criteria are not real criteria for a life partner. They should all come together. So when you come on board, you first put your intent, which is dating, companionship, marriage, or friendship. Some people really who are at the age of 50, 55 don't want to settle down now, and we just want a companion to hang out with, and that's okay. So you put your intent, you put your disability or no disability, and it's physical disability, intellectual disability, learning. You put all these criteria. What's your level of independence, cure? And then we try to actually churn out the most active profiles in your location based on these criteria. So the point was, okay, let's start here. Let's figure out what works, how does it work, and then move gradually. We do plan to expand now to Australia and then gradually UK.
So do you plan on expanding to the entire population, and then as you keep growing, expand on the entire differently abled populations out there?
Yeah, we do want to be this world's first app available globally for any person who is feeling like they have a special need or they're different and they want to feel a part of this, including we very recently created a filter for acid attack survivors as well to come and be a part of this. Not that they have a disability, but they do feel excluded, right? And so that's the intent. However, having said this, it will always be geo-fenced. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're from Australia, there is no point whatsoever that you match with somebody in Chennai, right? How are you going to even meet? And there's like a long distance relationship. So the point was to kind of geofence these locations, and then they find around. So the platform is
has that proved beneficial to you, the geofencing feature?
We've not done it yet. We are going to do when we launch Australia and UK. Right now, if you're from Kolkata, you can even see a profile from Kerala. Like we've kept it open. But no, when we launch in other countries, we do plan to. So because UK is very cosmopolitan, right? You can't have a person from UK matching with somebody in Kerala who says, I want Brahmin, and the guy from UK is like, I don't know what you want.
Possible, but not likely, I guess you can say.
So we want to create these communities that are like-minded, but they are culturally more aligned to each other in that part of the universe.
Which would make your matchmaking a little bit more successful, I guess you can say.
Yeah, faster.
More likely, not even successful.
Matches
and faster, right? So let's talk a little bit about, now you mentioned that people can note down their disability on this app, and you have probably a whole bunch of criteria for what they can choose and select on the app, right? Let's talk about the act that was passed in 2016, the Rights of People with Disabilities Act. What I really liked about this act was that now it was very rights-based. Now it's a recognized thing to be a disabled person here, versus before in India it was just sort of charity, and there was no infrastructure, nothing in place, I guess, very little I should say in place. There was an act in 1995, but it only recognized 7 different categories of disability or differently abled, whatever term is more comfortable for you. Now it recognizes a full 21 categories, and I'm sure that more need to be recognized. But how did this, since the act sort of passed in 2016 and your company also you created this app in 2016, how did this help you and how did it impact what you do? Because I think the two align.
When 2016 the Rajya Sabha bill was passed, it was a stamp that people do exist.
And it was unanimously passed, which was also, I think, historic.
Where it's helped is the corporates. They've become much more aware. We have partners like Microsoft.
Because the act makes actually private corporations and private entities accountable now.
Yes, and now and that's what, so when somebody tells me I'm not getting a job or I got fired because I have a disability, I'm like, you can go and sue them. Like, I don't know if you know this, that awareness is still missing, but you can't no more reject somebody from their application because they have a disability, right? And that I think was a big move where you just can't let somebody go because they're gay or because they have a disability or because they're part of a minority. That's very simple as that. Why should the world survive on only majority? Who's going to think out of the box and bring new diversity on?
So in terms of your app, now when people are more empowered, how has it affected you in maybe your business sales or in any aspect of your growth so far?
One thing, and I'd state this with an example so that it's more clear to understand. The last wedding that happened of a woman named Shweta, and she is 38 years old, and this is her first marriage, and she lives in a village called Sitapur in UP. And she met a guy on Inclov mobile app who lives in Delhi and runs a YouTube channel called Forbidden Truth. So he actually came on the app to review the app, just like how you're shooting, so you might have, and they met and they obviously fell in love and they got married and so on and so forth. And this guy, Alok, doesn't have a disability, but Shweta is on wheelchair. So what I'm trying to say is, a person who's 38, like beyond that marriageable age for a woman in India at least, has a disability, and we would think Sitapur, who would have internet or tech, and the first thing that comes to your mind is like, why, how? All these things, like together, when you bring this whole stories, permutation and combination, it feels India's changing.
But at the same time, smartphone usage and internet usage have more than doubled in the past few years, I should say.
That's led to more of the growth and the acceptance that we are trying to do. Because in 2014, when I would go to somebody and be like, hey, we do this, like, why? And why do you find the need to do this as a full-time role? Side mein karo.
Did people really say why? Why do you need to do this?
Yeah, a lot of them, like social service. My dad used to, last 2 years back, we went for a wedding and he would be like, she runs an NGO, and I had to be like, Dad, no, it's a tech company, so.
What does he say now?
So he came for one of my TED Talks in 2016, and I think that changed his perspective completely. And now he's very much.
As I'm sure other people must have that said why before have maybe changed their perspective for sure.
It always does when you show the results. That's why I couldn't. We both actually, me and Shankar, we would just be like, we would try to explain the opinion, but we would be like, when a girl from Sitapur on an app finds a person, we don't have to explain anything anymore.
Right.
Now the story does its own talking, right? So we had to give time to it, and 4 years later, there's higher acceptability. We have partners, like I said, Kitty Sue and Lalit, and everyone partnering and trying to host parties for them. There was a chance, or there was an incident where a person with disability, and she's a woman, came to a nightclub for the first time in her life. She had her drink at the bar for the first time, and that's empowering. I feel.
What made her do that?
She just said, she was 29 or 30, I think, and she just said, I never knew I could do this. I was never told that I, on a wheelchair, can go to a bar and have fun like other people. But when you guys said Inclov's hosting a party and we are welcome, we wanted to give it a shot, and that was so empowering. And after that, she's come for every party, obviously. But
she enjoyed her drink at that bar for sure.
And the idea of hosting the meetup also came from somebody who was denied an entry in the bar. So we were like, why? And you and I may bump into our next life partner, soulmate, or our best friend in a bar, right? Very much. So we were like, why should they not be allowed that opportunity? So every time we started questioning why, the solution started coming, and that's where it all came together, and it's from the community. Unfortunately, fortunately, we don't have the same experience as they have, right? So we have to always listen and take that feedback and roll out things.
So what I'm hearing from you is that more than, like the nitty gritty of it, the ideology and the mindset of people needs to evolve, and it is evolving, I feel. And especially with this bill being passed in 2016, as it's an act now, so it's part of the law right now. And that definitely brings one awareness to people, and then the advent of more smartphone usage and more internet usage and more accessibility for people to get online and be aware of things. Like as you said, now Shweta, her name, right? She would be probably, if you Google the rights for disabled people in India, you'd come across this act, and then you'd be like, oh hey, this is really cool. The point I'm trying to drive at is the lack of awareness. But I think with the advent of this app and reforms and stuff, it certainly is getting better for sure, what I've noticed. And I think I can take that stance because I've always been in and out. So I think once you've done that and you come after a little while, you definitely see changes in mindset and changes in ideology, including like even my parents had a very different take before than they do now. So it's a really positive thing to see. So with that being said, thanks for sharing your thoughts. But now we're going to go into a bit of a rapid fire round, which means that, you can start sweating now, right? But it means whatever you think of, the first thing that comes to your mind after I give you a word or phrase. You have to answer honestly.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Define, let's see. Define female entrepreneur.
Same PNL. We have the same profit and loss here. How does it matter?
Okay. What is the worst advice you've gotten? What have you done about it?
The worst advice I've gotten is I think you should take some charity money and run this. What I've done about this is not take that advice.
And did your own thing anyway. How did it make you feel when people were just kind of shooing this idea off in the beginning? What made you really go for
183 people like initially that I had gone to for some or the other work had rejected this like in some or the other form.
83 people had
183.
183 people, sorry.
Yeah, but after the fifth one, you were just like, screw you. And you leave the door. Like, you need just one yes to make this happen.
Okay. Now are you on any matchmaking apps?
I was on Tinder.
What is your ideal date?
I don't know. Food and wine at my house.
Define empowerment.
The choice of living the way you want to live.
Okay. And why has that been a challenge, do you feel?
I mean, as a woman, I would answer this. We're a part of this. I'm a part of this 2% privileged women who don't have either their father putting pressure of certain things or their husbands waiting at home for them to go and cook meals. So that's a choice that I could make in a society like India. And I think that the choice at least should be given to as many women as possible.
Okay. So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs? And you mentioned women before, so especially maybe our female entrepreneurs.
So the problem with what I had as approach and the problem with plan B is the commitment you have to your plan A.
Right.
So I feel in hindsight I also should have just been sure of this, which now I feel like it's possible. I'm giving this as advice. Just be 100% committed to plan A. It will work out. If you're smart, if you know the right things, and if you're 100% committed, things will work out. And about hitting the roadblock, right? Like my co-founder Shankar actually says, it's much harder to be in the game. But the longer you are, the higher chances you'll finish the race as well.
Right.
So just have to keep going, show up.
That's great. And is there anything that concludes our rapid fire? It wasn't that bad, right?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your thoughts as well as your company. So if we want to find you online, how do we do that?
It's very simple, inclov.com, inclov.com.
Okay, great.
You'll find
And one can sign up on the website as well?
Yeah, you can sign up on the website. We have an Android app, we have an iOS app, and we have Inclov Lite, which is for the visually challenged. So it's a text-friendly version for people with disability. And we are also the only one in Hindi actually. So none of the matrimonial or matchmaking apps are in Hindi in India.
Great.
So it's a fun fact for you.
So another first, which is great.
First, yeah.
So congratulations, this is a great initiative, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And that concludes our episode of NIJ Changemakers. This is Priyanka Deo signing out.